Hi, so I'm going to show you how to make these off mandrel leaf beads with a bail on it. They are not done on a mandrel at all. So to do this, you're going to need some white glass. I'm using some frit, Firecracker by Glass Diversions. And to manipulate this, you need something to form the leaf. I used a pair of mashers, this style. They sell them in a whole lot of different glass supply places. You can use any kind of style like leaf masher you want, and if you don't have a masher, you can also use a pair of tweezers, and the kind that have little tong grooves in there will make some additional details on the glass as well. To make this hole nice, I tend to use an octagonal reamer. This one's a graphite reamer. You can also use graphite tongs to open and make that shape that nice. After I take the bead off of this and getting it into the kiln, I use these fiber covered tongs, but you can also use something like this, which are the tungsten tweezers, or whatever you normally use to hold hot glass in your studio. So I think that's it.
And it can also be helpful to have a pair of flat mashers like this to use in shaping your bead before you put it into your leaf-shaped mashers.
All right, so for this leaf, I'm going to show you how to do an off mandrel leaf with a bail. I hope this is going to work because bails are not necessarily my strong suit. So what I'm going to do is going to start with some white opaque glass. I'm going to roll it in frit, and I'm going to use these mashers here to make the leaf shape and veining. I'm going to keep it attached to my white rod as, sort of it'll be acting as a punty. And I'm going to shape the tip, and then I'm going to punty up on another piece of clear glass, and then use this white rod to make the bail or the loop at the top. I'm just heating it on the rod. White is a fairly drippy, soft color, so something like clear or transparent would be a little bit stiffer. I don't know if that'll make it easier or harder to work, but we're going with the white. Okay, so this is hot enough. I'm going to touch it into my frit to pick up a bunch of colors, put it back in my flame and melt them in. I may go in for a second dip. We'll see how well this spreads and covers. Yeah, there's a couple of thin spots, so we're gonna dip again. So it'll thin out and spread out once I mash it in my tool. I'm going to want to flat mash it and lengthen it a little bit before I go into the tool. I have a pair of small flat mashers I got from Karina Tools, from Karina. KarinaBeads.com, I believe, is her website. I like these guys because they spring back open and they're easy on the hands and they're lightweight. So they're aluminum. All right, so that seems to be melted in pretty good. I'm going to give it a little bit of a squish, and I'm kind of dragging it out as I'm squishing it, trying to get it into a little bit of an elongated shape, getting it ready to use in my leaf pressing tool. I need to lengthen it a little bit more, so I will do that some. I want to heat it up in the middle so that when I lengthen it, it draws it down and a little thinner and doesn't just pull a stringer off the tip. There we go. I think is closer to the shape I'm going to want to press, yeah. All right, so now I want to get it heated up on both sides so that it's malleable. And when I mush it, it will take on the shape and the texture that's in this pressing tool. I think I got this from Aerosprings. I've had it for a really long time. It's like one of the early tools I got when I was a newbie, probably 10 years ago. All right, so I'm going to press it in there. You don't want to super press it too much because it will cool off and it can crack. So you can see this thing has this kind of reflex and curls back up at the top. Didn't quite capture all that. So I'm going to heat it a bit more. I'm going to pull the point out a little bit more and go back into my tool. This is the part where you fritter it with it. You heat it and you pull it and you mash it and you go back and you heat it and you pull it and you mash it again. Or at least I tend to. I'm sure there's some people that, you know, have made hundreds of these that can get it all in one mush. I haven't been able to sort of figure that out yet. All right, let me get a bit more heat into it along the length of it. I don't want to heat too close to the end where it's attached to the rod because I don't want the whole thing to fall off on me. So I'm being a little gingerly kissing it with the heat up in that area. All right, let's try this. There we go. That's a little bit more leafy shape. Maybe I'll stretch it out a little bit more on the sides here. Let me give it some heat. Tools are just to kind of help you along. You are the artist, so you can do whatever you need to do to make the leaf look more leaf-like. Add a little bit more heat into parts of it here. Pull it out. Pull it out in parts so I can go to the other side. I'm looking at where the veins are and the patterning. It might not show up too well with the frit in the camera. I'm using that sort of as like a suggestion on where to pull and shape it to kind of accentuate the lines that are already in there from the tool. And so this is Freeform off Mandrel. I'm trying to get it to the shape that I want it to be when it's finished, and we're going to put a bail on it so it'll become something of a pendant, or it can be used as a pendant. So I'm thinking, how do I want it to lie? Is it symmetric right to left? What is the overall shape of it? So I'm using the tungsten tweezers. You could use other tweezers with serrated marks in it. I like the tungsten ones. I have a pair of straight tungstens and tungstens with a bend in it, and I use them for different things. All right, so that leaf shape looks fairly appealing. Let me just pull the tip out a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So that looks good. So now I'm going to attach a glass rod as a puntee to the tip, and then I'm going to work on the bail at the other end, and hopefully this hasn't cooled off enough that it's going to give me problems, but we'll see how this goes. So for now, I'm going to make this a hot joint so it's a little bit more stable because I'm a bit of a newbie. I will melt that off and clean that tip up afterwards. So I've got this joined, and now what I'm going to do is switch it over, switch hands, and I'm going to work on this top end and attempt to make a bail. And so again, you want to think about how this is going to lay for whatever piece of jewelry, whatever you're making. So I want it to lay flat with the cord going through it that way. So I'm going to make the loop this way. So when you're looking on the side, you see the hole of the loop. When you're looking in the front, you don't see the hole. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to melt up a gather of glass of the white. And then I'm going to pull that out and then touch it back over, and it will become a bail. And then I can use my graphite tool to help open up that opening if needed. So I think I've probably got close to enough volume of glass heated. So I'm going to take it below the flame and I'm going to let it cool. And since it's white, once it just starts to go opaque, just like that, I can pull it out, bend it back, pull it, go forward, and touch it down onto itself. I still have a bit of an opening. I'm going to try not to lose that opening. All right, and I've got that off. Use my tungsten and open it up a little bit before I lose it. And that little point, I want to make sure that is touched down and melted in. And I'm going to get my other tool here. You can see it's a little thicker in the back and thinner in the front. So that means I want to heat it up in the back, not in the front. And then I can put my tool in there and it will help open it and thin out and take the glass from the back. So for the glass to move, it has to be hot. If the glass is cold, it's not going to move it. So I'm heating up the glass in the back, and I'm just opening that up ever so slightly. Now you can see it's a little bit more balanced in terms of the thickness. I'll give a little bit of insurance heat on the front. Make sure my spot where it's touching down there looks nice. I've got a bit of a mark in there, so I want to take a pair of pliers or tweezers and melt that in. It'll look a little bit better. Make sure it's good and secure. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to take these, which learned how to make these in Astrid's class. I'm going to hold the leaf, go back down to the point here. I am not putting these tools in the flame. I'm just putting the glass in here. I'm pulling my punty off, melt that up and pull it out to a leaf point a bit better, melt that off. And I would attempt to show it to you, but it's going straight in the kiln. I will show it to you after it's cold.
Alright guys, so here is our finished leaf pendant, and I think it came out really great. And remember, because you are shaping these by yourself, you can have so much fun coming up with all sorts of different leaf shapes and curl the edges and make them look like they're already, kind of dried and crunchy or fresh just off of a plant. Honestly, the options are endless, so go forth with your imaginations and create something wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this leaf tutorial. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and check out the full playlist that incorporates 4 different leaf bead designs. Happy fall season!